Hey everybody, it's Devin O Force Gaming. We're back again. Uh, Came back from locals yesterday, and we played a little bit. Didn't play Old Force yesterday. Decided to play something different, and ended up playing Blue Flare, and went undefeated. Can't complain. Good results for Blue Flare. It's a pretty solid deck, so I just thought everybody would want to see what I was running. It seems relatively standard, but I think some people might not necessarily know why the deck is good in a vacuum. So I kind of wanted to go over that today. So for the eggs, just gotta keep it simple. Everybody's favorite, Wanyamon, probably the best egg for like most blue decks now. If you got a blue Tamer, so when you swing, draw a card. Tamers is what this deck does. You're gonna draw a card. Then I play 4 copies of Dracomon. Uh, this card is really good, especially because it's kind of annoying for the opponent. Like I don't even swing with it 90% of the time. I just leave it out on the board. Like Digivolve in the back, push it out the next turn. When I start making plays, I'll use it to just facilitate more draw, therefore getting to my pieces faster, making it harder for my opponent to do anything. And it kind of makes them want to out it because they're also afraid of them having multiple bodies on the board, because once they've got 2 bodies on board, you pretty much are going to be pushing for game. So they're afraid to put bodies on board, but they also kind of want to get rid of the Dracomon. And the longer he's on the field, the more value I get from him. It's weirdly enough, for just a rookie, it kind of puts your opponent on a timer. So main effect, your turn once per turn. When you play another card with Drawmon or Blue Flare in its traits, draw 1 card. Really good inheritable effect when you play a card with Drawmon or a card with Blue Flare in its traits, gain a memory. That comes up sometimes, not as often as I would like, but it's reliable, so I don't really have any complaints about it. Then 4 copies of my favorite card in the deck, Gaussmon. Well, second favorite card in the deck. Simple. On deletion, you play 1 level 4 Blue Flare card, level 4 lower Blue Flare Digimon from your hand, suspended. Level 4, not level 4 lower. I'm sorry. It's really good. You play the Greymon for free, get a free search. Play Male Bergermon, grab the Metal Greymon, or play the Kitty Hawk for free. It's really good. It's like a mandatory 4 of. Even when the new stuff comes out, you're still probably playing this at 4. Then I played 2 of the Bulukamon security, the purple one. It came up like once, but I mean, arguably, Digivolving in the back is not that important. This could have been solved from a Doki Betamon. It depends. I still feel like memory chokers are like really good, but also really weird sometimes, because maybe you need that memory and now they're preventing you from doing something. So, I guess they don't really prevent you that much, but it's just the idea of being forced to not getting as much value out of a card as I would like, especially because you don't evolve in this deck that much. So just being able to if I hit this card in security, I get a draw 2 and I get a rookie out of it. It came up once, and that one time it did, it was really, really strong. And primarily the Gaussmon and Dracomon probably carry you through most situations anyway. So I was trying it out. I like it. I don't know if I'm gonna stick with it, but for right now, it's doing some work. Then for 4 copies of the Blue Flare Greymon. On play, reveal top 4 cards. Add 2 cards of Blue Flare and their traits to your hand. And then if you have a Kitty Hawk in play, you can add a Metal Greymon from trash instead. And then obviously that save. Its inheritable effect is really where you start to see like the strength of the deck. If your opponent has 2 or more cards on the board, if this Digimon has Blue Flare in his traits, unsuspend. So you get a multi-attack with the Metal Greymon, which is really, really good. Just being able to play this card for free with Gaussmon, or even just hard dropping this sometimes, is really solid. Most decks, like killing him doesn't really matter, because once you get the Kitty on board, you don't care that much. Then obviously 4 copies of Male Bergermon, another really good card. On play, if you don't have a Kitty on play 1 for free. Already good, because with Gaussmon, that's actually a free tamer. And then if you do have a Kitty on play, when you play this, add a Metal Greymon from trash to hand. So recurring Metal Greymon is really important, probably the best thing you could be doing in this deck, especially when you're going to these long grind games, because some matchups kind of force you to play for way longer than you initially intended to. It's like Machine German, maybe even like rogue decks, like what's it called? uh Mervaloop or Crossheart. Crossheart's not much of a rogue deck anymore, still pretty solid, but you might be going for longer games than you initially anticipated. Being able to get back the best card in your deck is going to make your life a lot easier. Oh, the inheritable is really good. The inheritable is when you attack, if your opponent has 2 more Digimon, stun a Digimon. So this is how you prevent your opponent from being able to hurt, like to basically force them to stick with those 2 bodies on board for as long as possible, even if Like they have two bodies on board, one Digimon with no sources, one Digimon with plenty of sources. You play the Metal Greymon, stun the weaker one, swing, stun the big one, and even if Metal Greymon dies, if you can recur that Metal Greymon or you have a second one in your hand, this is gonna go on for a long time. Then I play 3 copies of Decadramon. I absolutely adore this card. On play, draw 1, and then you draw 1 card for every card your opponent has in play. So once the Metal Greymon starts the ball rolling, this card becomes insane. Like you drop this for free with Gaussmon, or even if you got a pass turn because you're like, I don't really have a reason to swing, drop Decadramon, drop probably 3 cards, pass turn. Now your opponent has to deal with the fact that every turn you're getting an extra. You're probably gonna play a body every turn. Every turn you're gonna be plussing cards, whether it be from searching with the Greymon, whether it be from drawing with the Decadramon, whether it be swinging with the Gaussmon because you don't care if he dies. Like all of those little stepping stones towards the game plan allow for you to really overpower your opponent. And then it's inheritable all turns when the Digimon, your opponent has 200 Digimon in play, this Digimon gains 1k DP. So it's really good. That comes up sometimes, but usually not really on defense on the opponent's turn as much as I would think it would, because oftentimes I'd rather go for the offensive side of it in stunning as opposed to having to block stuff. Then I played 2 copies of the starter deck Greymon, because when you Digicross, Metal Greymon doesn't say what color Greymon, so the new one will, but for right now, this card is still just another way to force your opponent um, into like a sticky situation. Because the lower security they're at, the better cards like Gaussmon become. Like even decks like Machinedramon, they have no security. Gaussmon is a threat. A 1k rookie is a threat, and now they have to block it, which then means that you get a free card, and that free card can get you the Metal Greymon, and that Metal Greymon can give you 2 more attacks. It like just being able to speed your opponent to low security or prevent them from being able to play the game long enough for you to poke at the security multiple times. Yeah, it'll get you there. And I played 1 copy of Kumamon because it comes up. Not did it come up yesterday, to be entirely honest. I almost never used it, but it was nice knowing that if it did have to come up, I would be ready for it. So it's just good to have a hybrid for game if you need it. Then for 5s, 4 copies of the actual best card in the deck, the Blue Flare Metal Greymon. On plays, Digimon gains Rush, and then when Digicrossing, you can pick up to 3 Digimon on your opponent's board that have less Digivolution sources than he does, and then those Digimon cannot attack or block until the end of your opponent's next turn. So it just it forces your opponent to have to like not be able to play. Basically, they're kind of just sitting on big bodies. They can Digivolve, but that Digimon still can't swing unless they can DNA or they could play a card that has Rush. They're not swinging at you this turn, or they're moving a card from raising. They can't swing with you that this one can't swing at you that turn. So keeping him around the first time you play him is really good because it slows your opponent down. From then on, your goal is to keep him around because if they already got 2 bodies on board, you're stunning 1 card guaranteed and potentially more depending on what you Digivolve into. So he's just so good. Like he's the reason why the deck can win, honestly. Then I played 3 copies of Decker Greymon. Decker Greymon is part of the main reason why I like Decadramon so much, outside of Decadramon's free draws. On play or when Digivolving, you place 1 Digimon card with Blue Flare and his traits under him. Then he can, if you have Decadramon under him, he can stun 1 Digimon on the board. So he is Digivolve him over Metal Greymon, put Decadramon under because he can Digivolve over a level 5 for 2 costs. So Digivolve over the Metal Greymon, put Decadramon under, stun something else. So even if you stun 2 things the turn before, and you're like, okay, I don't have another Metal Greymon, I can't stun a second time. Digivolve Decadramon over him, put Decadramon under, stun 1 side, swing, Male Birdramon, stun the other one, and then you're good to go. They're still stuck with those 2 Digimon on board, and your goal is to keep them with 2 cards on board for as long as possible. So if they got 1 Digimon on board, they know they can't do anything with it, stun it. And just keep that card there and force them to have to pull something else out, because otherwise they can't play the game. So the more ways you can prevent your opponent from being able to play, the more likely you'll end up winning the game, even if they think they get out the board. They can't necessarily guarantee game on their side. So really good combination of cards. I love Decker Greymon. Then 2 Metal Greymon plus Cyber Launcher. This is mostly to help get rid of floodgates because you Digivolve, put a Blue Flare card under them. Then you get the bounce of level 4 Digimon. Level 3 at the lowest, and level 4 if you don't put anything. Level 4 if you do put something. It comes up. Sometimes they put like a Psychmon on board. You want to get rid of the Psychmon. Digivolve for 2 over the Metal Greymon. Bounce the Psychmon. Main advantage that he has Armor Purge, just like Decker Greymon does, and he's considered Metal Greymon at all times. So our only level 6 in the deck will actually be able to Digivolve over him and get the full benefit of his effect. So he's still a solid card. Mainly use him as just like a tech option to get like small bodies off the board or to give Metal Greymon Armor Purge, so you're least likely to die. Then I played 2 of the Metal Greymon X Antibody from BT9. It's just good. When Digivolve in Security Tech +1, if you have Metal Greymon under, he gets 3k DP as well. So Metal Greymon swinging for 11k and 2 checks. And if you have the blue Greymon under, you swung once before, so you can swing once with the Blue Flare Metal Greymon. If they have 2 bodies, you swing once, unsuspend, Digivolve over him, gain 3k and 2 checks, swing. Now you're doing 3 checks with 1 Digimon on board, and you probably stunned 1 or 2 things on the field already. So even if they can out this, they're not in a good position, because you having 3 memory means you're probably going to end up playing another Metal Greymon the next turn. So you don't even lose anything for doing it. Then for 6s, we play 2 copies of Z Greymon. It's a nice finisher. It's kind of like, if they have 2 Digimon on board, it's kind of like Blitz Omni for game. Or like more like Billsmon Blast mode for game. When he can Digimon over a Metal Greymon for 2 cost, so that's already good. He can Digimon over a red or blue Digimon, so even though he won't Digivolve for 2 costs over this Metal Greymon, you can still Digivolve for him for 3. It's not bad. If they have 2 more Digimon on the board, when he Digivolves, you gain 2 memory, and he unsuspends. That's regardless if you have 2 more Digimon on board, but he gains a 2 memory if they have 2 or more. So effectively, it's a 1 cost Digivolve over this Metal Greymon, or over Metal Greymon plus Cyber Launcher, or the other Metal Greymon. It is a free Digivolution and an extra swing. So really good. His Unleashing effect's really good too, because it allows for you to get the Greymon and male Bergermon back when he dies. So you can even retrain if you didn't get a solid board or a solid stack, or they threatened, like they popped the Kitty Hawk that had Digimon under it. You get another Kitty Hawk under, and they kill this guy. You still get the Greymon and male Bergermon back from the trash. So he comes up and he's really, really effective, really solid for the deck. It's nice, like nice finishing boss. For options, 1 copy of Ice Wall. Didn't come up yesterday, but this deck is slow enough where I can justify playing an Ice Wall, because sometimes you just gotta grind that game out, and forcing your opponent to have to deal with this it's enough. It'll get you there. 2 copies of Sorai. I adore this card. It absolutely makes Machinedramon such a funny matchup. But just ripping off the top 4 sources from their Digimon, and then wide stunning like putting a blanket effect that Digimon that have no sources can't attack. Given your opponent can Digivolve and then that Digimon can attack, but if they're on their boss card and they don't have another Digimon to do anything with, or if I've already stunned the cards that have no sources naturally, now they can't just play a card and have it out. They have to actively give the card sources. And if they're already like a Chaosdramon X, for example, they can put 1 card under and make sure you can attack. But just being able to rip 4 sources from Chaosdramon X literally changes that matchup entirely. So I think it's a must play. I feel like if you're playing like in the Ultimate Cup format, you probably play 4 copies or 3 copies, but in a regular tournament, I think 2 is more than enough. Then I play 4 copies of Blazing Memory Boost. This option card is bananas. Even though it's a 5 cost, it does so much. When you play it, top 6, add 2 cards of Blue Flare in his name, and then if you see a Kitty Hawk from the top 6, you get to play that for free. So it gives you a tamer. It functions like a regular memory boost, where you can, as a delay effect, to give yourself 2 memory, but more importantly, it digs for your important pieces, and it digs deep for your important pieces. You play this, you see a Metal Greymon and a Greymon, grab both. You see a Kitty Hawk that at the same time, play the Kitty Hawk for free. Now you've got a memory setter tamer for the turn. You have a Metal Greymon in hand, and you have a Greymon to search if you need it. It does so much. It's so good that even play like turn 1, dropping this as your first turn play, is not even that bad. You think it'd be really bad, but it really isn't. Then for tamers, we run 2 of the 3 the 3 character tamer. Start of your main phase, place 1 card with Cross Heart or Blue Flare. It is trade from under the tamer. Gain 1 memory, draw 1 card. It's pretty effective, and then it has the standard Cross Heart effect. When you would play a card with when you would Digicross into a card, you can suspend this and then grab Digimon from under any of your tamers and place it under that Digimon. So obviously for Metal Greymon's Digicross, or even Decker Greymon's Digicross, or Metal Greymon plus Cyber Launcher, which comes up the least amount, but they all have it. I can pull the pieces under and then at least get those cards for cheaper. So it's good, but Kitty Hawk's where the money is, simply because you can play him for free. So if the other guys can be played for free, they probably be better. But for right now, since he can be played for free, he's the guy you're trying to get. As long as you can get one of him on board, unless the deck can retire Tamers, you're going to be tempoing your opponent out. And if you know anything about me at this point, I really like to bring the game down to a state where I can control the pace of the game as we're playing through it. And this is the kind of deck that really gets that job done. So I recommend most important card in the deck. If you're gonna build this is also a relatively budget deck because it's the most expensive card in the deck. It's relative. Everything else is like pennies, but this, or maybe the Metal Greymon X Antibody and the starter deck Greymon might be like a few dollars, but he's like $8 for some reason. Well, it's because he's really good, but I still don't know if he's worth $8 per se. But your job in this deck is you take your time. You're just trying to force your opponent to make that mistake. And once they've made that mistake, you're not worried about how much security you've lost. You're not worried about any of that. Your goal is to prevent, once your opponent makes that small slip up, now you can slowly win the game by swinging at their security over and over and over again, protecting your Metal Greymon by using cards like Metal Greymon plus Cyber Launcher or Decker Greymon to protect him from battle when you're swinging by giving him Armor Purge. So you don't even lose from that. Once you've got two bodies on board, you're almost guaranteed to unsuspend every time you swing. It makes Zeke Greymon live, and then you just run the red card package just to speed it up, even if they don't have two cards on board. But once you stun one card, effectively they will eventually be forced to play one more card, because even if you stun one with this, the next turn they don't want to play a card, just evolve this, put Decker Dramon under, stun another card. They still don't want to do anything with it. That's cool. At this point, they've lost 2 turns and you've poked them twice. And now you've got a big body on board, and if you have another Decker Greymon, you can continue to stack Decker Greymons because he does not Digivolve over Metal Greymon specifically, but over any level 5. And the second time you don't have to put a Decker Dramon under, he already will stun something. So just being able to force your opponent to have to deal with what you have on the board is more than enough to win games. So if you guys have any questions, I recommend leaving any comments in the comment section down below. This is All Force Gaming, signing out.